Welcome to Globewise Entertainment. If you're a fan of movies that bend reality and defy convention, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into the world of cult cinema's weirdest wonders, films so bizarre, they'll have your mind spinning. From twisted tales to surreal visuals, these movies push boundaries and challenge what we think of as normal in the world of film. But before we dive into these mind-bending masterpieces, if you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join our global community of movie lovers who aren't afraid to explore the weird, the wild, and the wonderfully strange. Trust us, you don't want to miss this journey. Now, let's take a look at 10 cult cinema films that will blow your mind and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about movies. 1. Eraserhead, 1977, David Lynch. Henry Spencer, a quiet, anxious man living in an industrial wasteland, discovers that his girlfriend Mary has given birth to a grotesque, inhuman baby. The shrieking, lizard-like child, sickly and wrapped in bandages, soon becomes the center of Henry's isolated, nightmarish world. As Mary leaves, unable to cope, Henry's sanity begins to unravel. Haunted by surreal visions, like a woman living inside a radiator who sings about finding heaven, and overwhelmed by the pressure of fatherhood, Henry descends into a dreamlike state where reality and hallucination blur, leading to a shocking and ambiguous climax. Eraserhead is a surrealist masterpiece that defies traditional narrative structure. David Lynch's debut film is less about plot and more about atmosphere, emotion, and the unconscious mind. With haunting black and white cinematography, industrial sound design, and grotesque body horror, the film evokes anxiety, alienation, and existential dread. Often interpreted as a meditation on fear of fatherhood and modern life's bleakness, Eraserhead is divisive but unforgettable. For lovers of experimental cinema, it's essential viewing, a film that doesn't just challenge convention but obliterates it. Weird factor, off the charts. Cult status, legendary among surrealist and horror cinephiles.
2. The Holy Mountain, 1973. Alejandro Jodorowsky. A nameless, Christ-like figure, referred to only as the thief, awakens in a chaotic, symbolic version of the world. After enduring grotesque trials and being exploited by a corrupt priesthood and capitalist military, he encounters a mysterious alchemist, played by Jodorowsky himself, who promises enlightenment. The thief is joined by 7 other powerful yet spiritually lost individuals, each representing one of the planets in the solar system and embodying the corruption of their respective industries: war, cosmetics, finance, etc. Together, they undergo psychological and physical purification rituals to transcend their egos. Their ultimate goal: to climb the holy mountain and dethrone the immortals who rule the world. What they find at the summit, however, subverts all expectations in a final, fourth-wall-breaking twist that challenges the viewer's perception of reality, cinema, and the quest for truth. The Holy Mountain isn't just a film, it's a sensory and spiritual odyssey. With its lavish symbolism, surrealist tableaus, and anti-establishment themes, the movie is both visually intoxicating and mentally jarring. Alejandro Jodorowsky fuses alchemy, tarot, religion, and political critique into a 2-hour visual manifesto that defies traditional narrative structure. For some, it's a masterpiece of avant-garde art. For others, it's pure madness. But one thing's certain, this film redefined what it means for cinema to be weird. It's baffling, beautiful, sacrilegious, and transcendent, all at once. While not for the faint of heart or the impatient viewer, it's an essential experience for fans of truly unconventional, mind-bending cinema. 3. Pink Flamingos, 1972. John Waters. In the world of underground cinema, few stories are as depraved, or as oddly compelling, as that of Divine, a criminal who proudly lives under the alias of the filthiest person alive. Residing in a trailer on the outskirts of Baltimore with her oddball family, Divine's grotesque lifestyle is challenged by Connie and Raymond Marble, a perverse couple determined to steal her title. What follows is an outrageous battle of escalating obscenities and provocations, culminating in scenes that defy every norm of taste, decency, and narrative structure. As Divine fends off the Marble schemes, including kidnapping, drug dealing, and running a baby-selling operation, the film careens through acts of deviance, sexual absurdity, and animalistic chaos. Each sequence is a test of endurance for the viewer's sensibilities, but in true Waters fashion, it all leads to the film's notorious and unforgettably repulsive finale. Pink Flamingos is not just a cult film, it's a cinematic grenade lobbed into the face of 1970s respectability. Directed by John Waters and starring his muse, the drag queen Divine, the film is proudly anarchic, aggressively tasteless, and gloriously rebellious. It is a shock film with purpose, to destroy the line between art and obscenity, and to mock the very idea of good taste. Shot on a shoestring budget with amateur actors, it has all the technical flaws one might expect: shaky camera work, raw editing, and barely there production design. But these elements only amplify its punk rock ethos. Waters gleefully desecrates every social taboo imaginable, turning the grotesque into performance art and launching Divine into countercultural stardom. Though reviled by mainstream critics at its release, Pink Flamingos has since earned iconic status in midnight movie history. It's not for everyone, in fact, it may not be for most. But for those who appreciate cinema as provocation, this film is a monument to audacious freedom. Viewer advisory: absolutely not safe for anyone expecting normalcy. 4. El Topo, 1970. Alejandro Jodorowsky. The mole who digs tunnels to reach the sun, but when he gets there, he goes blind. El Topo the Mole is a mystical gunslinger who journeys through a surreal desert in search of spiritual enlightenment. Divided into two symbolic halves, the first part sees him duel 4 master gunfighters to prove his superiority. Each duel is more bizarre and philosophical than the last, with El Topo descending deeper into moral ambiguity. The second half shifts drastically. Betrayed and reborn, he becomes a bearded holy man, living underground with a community of deformed outcasts. His new quest becomes one of redemption, digging a tunnel to the surface so the oppressed can be free. The film weaves a tapestry of violent imagery, religious iconography, sexual allegory, and political critique, drenched in symbolism and surrealist logic. Every scene is like a dream, or a fever. El Topo isn't just a film, it's a psychedelic sermon in bullet time. Jodorowsky blurs the lines between westerns, spiritual allegory, and arthouse theater, delivering a film that challenges viewers' expectations at every turn. With its cryptic dialogue, grotesque characters, and striking visuals, it's both hypnotic and disorienting. Critics have called it everything from a masterpiece to a blasphemy. It defies coherence in the traditional sense, but that's part of its enduring cult legacy. For those open to non-linear storytelling and metaphysical mayhem, El Topo is a cinematic rite of passage. Verdict: a revolutionary film that turned underground cinema into a mystical experience. It's not meant to be understood, only felt. 5. The Room, 2003. Tommy Wiseau. Johnny is a successful banker living in San Francisco with his fiancée Lisa. He's kind, generous, and deeply in love. But things start to unravel when Lisa inexplicably grows bored of Johnny and begins a secret affair with his best friend, Mark. As Johnny senses betrayal closing in, his emotional world spirals into chaos, culminating in a tragic and dramatic ending. But that's only on paper. In execution, The Room is a tangled web of awkward dialogue, jarring editing, and performances that defy all logic. Often called the Citizen Kane of bad movies, The Room has earned its place in cult history not through cinematic excellence, but through its sheer, inexplicable strangeness. Written, directed, produced by, and starring the enigmatic Tommy Wiseau, the film feels like a passionate alien's attempt to imitate human drama, with results both hilarious and baffling. Scenes start and stop abruptly. Characters appear and disappear with no explanation. Dialogue is riddled with non-sequiturs, oh hi, Mark, and emotional tones shift on a dime. Yet this accidental masterpiece has captivated audiences, becoming a beloved midnight movie and a symbol of so bad it's good filmmaking. Ultimately, The Room redefined weird cinema by showing that sincerity, even when poorly executed, can still resonate, just not always in the way the creator intended. 6. Houseu, House, 1977. Nobuhiko Obayashi. When a teenage girl named Gorgeous is denied a vacation with her father's new girlfriend, she decides to visit her long-lost aunt in the countryside. She brings along 6 school friends, each with quirky names that match their personalities: Prof, Sweet, Kung Fu, Melody, Mac, and Fantasy. Upon arriving at the aunt's eerie, dilapidated mansion, strange events begin to unfold. One by one, the girls fall victim to the house's supernatural forces. A piano eats people, a mirror traps souls, a severed head bites, and a possessed cat unleashes chaos. As reality unravels, Gorgeous is slowly possessed by her aunt's vengeful spirit, and the house reveals itself as a living, malevolent entity. Houseu is pure cinematic chaos, a kaleidoscope of vibrant visuals, dream logic, and childlike absurdity that defies traditional storytelling. Director Nobuhiko Obayashi, working with his preteen daughter's ideas, crafts a film that feels like a haunted fairy tale made by a sugar-rushed surrealist. The editing is frantic, the effects primitive yet charming, and the tone swings wildly between slapstick comedy and disturbing horror. Far from conventional horror, Houseu taps into the subconscious with imagery that feels like a fever dream. It's not just weird, it's joyfully, gleefully weird. Behind the whimsy lies deeper themes of war trauma, female adolescence, and broken families, subtly embedded within the madness. A cult classic through and through, Houseu isn't for everyone, but for lovers of the bizarre, it's essential viewing. Verdict: a surreal haunted house like no other, both hilarious and horrifying. 7. Gumo, 1997. Harmony Korine. Set in the tornado-ravaged town of Xenia, Ohio, Gumo unfolds as a collage of scenes rather than a traditional narrative. It follows a handful of disaffected youth, most notably Solomon and Tumla, as they drift through the bleak, chaotic remnants of their small-town lives. They hunt stray cats, sniff glue, talk about death, and bathe in dirty water while nihilism and neglect hang heavy in the air. Other characters, including a boy in bunny ears and a mute girl with Down syndrome, wander in and out of the fragmented vignettes, painting a surreal, often disturbing portrait of forgotten America. There's no plot, just raw glimpses into the disjointed existence of a community left behind. Harmony Korine's Gumo is an uncompromising plunge into the grotesque beauty of decay. Part documentary, part fever dream, the film challenges every convention of storytelling. There's no real plot, no character arcs, and no resolution, just the haunting stillness of life slipping through the cracks. Shot on 35mm and video, the aesthetics are jarring and intimate, like home footage from another world. What makes Gumo a cult masterpiece isn't just its weirdness, it's its brutal honesty. It dares to look at poverty, trauma, and detachment with unblinking eyes. You'll either be repulsed or mesmerized, but you won't forget it. Cult status. Though divisive upon release, Gumo quickly earned cult admiration for its avant-garde daring and unapologetic weirdness. It remains one of the most polarizing films in indie cinema, an unforgettable piece of outsider art that redefined what a movie could be. 8. Tetsuo, The Iron Man, 1989. Shinya Tsukamoto. In the grimy underworld of Tokyo, a salaryman's life spirals into techno-horror after he accidentally runs over a mysterious metal fetishist. Soon, he finds his body grotesquely transforming, sprouting wires, gears, and iron plating, as the fetishist's curse infects him. The boundaries between man and machine dissolve as the two are drawn into a violent, surreal fusion of flesh and steel, culminating in a chaotic, cybernetic showdown. The film plays out like a waking nightmare, shot in high-contrast black and white, with jarring editing and a relentless industrial soundtrack that mirrors the protagonist's descent into mechanical madness. Tetsuo The Iron Man is a ferocious, visceral burst of experimental cinema that defies genre and logic. It's part body horror, part punk sci-fi, and part art house fever dream. Shinya Tsukamoto's direction is fearless, blending stop-motion, rapid-fire cuts, and guerrilla filmmaking to create an experience that's as claustrophobic as it is mesmerizing. Though only 67 minutes long, it leaves a deep psychological scar. Viewers expecting a traditional narrative may be left bewildered, but cult cinephiles will find something hauntingly beautiful in its fusion of cyberpunk aesthetics and existential dread. A predecessor to films like Pi, Videodrome, and Akira, Tetsuo redefined what weird cinema could look like and feel like. Cult status. Widely regarded as Japan's answer to Eraserhead, Tetsuo became a benchmark of cyberpunk body horror and inspired countless filmmakers. Its unfiltered strangeness and raw energy earned it a permanent place in the Cult Film Hall of Fame. 9. Begotten, 1990. Elias Murridge. Begotten is a deeply atmospheric, experimental horror film that feels more like an unsettling, mythological ritual than a traditional movie. The story begins with God in the form of a deformed naked man, played by Murridge himself, who self-inflicts a brutal death. From his corpse, a woman, Mother Earth, or the Earth, emerges, seemingly reborn from his destruction. She then gives birth to a strange, monstrous offspring, a child of death and rebirth. The narrative follows this strange creation as it journeys through an inhospitable world filled with cryptic, sometimes grotesque, imagery. The film does not rely on dialogue, instead using haunting visuals and an avant-garde style that is full of disturbing symbolism. It's a film about the primal forces of life, death, and the cyclical nature of existence, offering no easy explanations and no clear plot structure. The imagery is grotesque, with characters that resemble corpses in various stages of decay, and the film is drenched in a grainy black and white texture that amplifies its eerie, dreamlike quality. Begotten is a nightmarish journey into the heart of existential horror and primal myth, a film that dares to explore the boundaries of the human experience through surrealism and disturbing visuals. At first glance, Begotten can appear as an abstract, incomprehensible piece of cinema. It eschews traditional narrative for a non-linear, dreamlike flow that demands a different kind of engagement from the viewer. The film's atmosphere is hypnotic, drawing you into a world that is at once uncomfortably alien and strangely familiar. Its lack of dialogue, reliance on stark, high-contrast black and white visuals, and overwhelming sound design create an oppressive atmosphere that permeates every scene. What Begotten succeeds in more than anything else is its ability to elicit strong emotional reactions through sheer visual power. The film taps into a primal part of human consciousness, the fear of death, the fascination with rebirth, and the constant cycle of life. It forces the viewer to confront unsettling images of death, suffering, and transformation in ways that more conventional films would avoid. The film's disturbing imagery, ranging from the violent self-destruction of God to the monstrous birth of his child, may turn many away, but for those willing to dive into its depths, Begotten offers an experience unlike any other. The lack of clear answers or explanations leaves much open to interpretation, encouraging viewers to think deeply about its themes of creation, destruction, and the fragility of existence. It is a film that demands contemplation, and even after the credits roll, the haunting visuals and sounds stay with you long after the viewing experience. Critics have labeled Begotten as one of the most challenging and divisive films in cult cinema. Its unsettling approach to storytelling, both visually and thematically, is not for everyone. It's a film that requires patience, and it can be uncomfortable to watch, as it brings you face to face with some of the most raw and disturbing aspects of human existence. Yet, it remains an iconic example of cult cinema, both for its fearless exploration of dark themes and for its unique and uncompromising approach to filmmaking. Begotten is not a film to be enjoyed in the traditional sense, but it is one to be experienced. Its artistic integrity, audacious ambition, and sheer strangeness make it a defining entry in the world of experimental cinema. For those who appreciate cinema as an art form that pushes boundaries and challenges perceptions, Begotten is a must-watch, a haunting journey into the darkest corners of human imagination. If you're in search of mind-bending, thought-provoking cinema that leaves a lasting impression, Begotten will redefine what you thought was possible in film, making it a cornerstone of weird cinema. 10. Freaks, 1932. Todd Browning. Freaks begins in a circus, a world of oddities and strange performers. The story follows a beautiful trapeze artist named Cleopatra, who becomes involved with a kind-hearted but deformed circus performer, Hans. Hans is in love with her, and they plan to marry. However, Cleopatra sees Hans' deformities as a ticket to wealth. She plans to marry him, steal his fortune, and then abandon him once she secures his money. As Cleopatra's manipulation unfolds, she treats Hans and the other circus performers with disdain. But when the circus performers discover her deceit, they plan a terrifying and poetic revenge. The film climaxes in a chilling scene where the freaks band together, showing their loyalty to one another and confronting the villainous Cleopatra. The transformation of the circus performers from overlooked outcasts to terrifying figures is a shocking and memorable finale. Freaks is an unflinching exploration of the human condition, rejection, and the thin line between normalcy and monstrosity. Upon its release, it was considered highly controversial for its portrayal of real-life people with physical disabilities, as well as its theme of social ostracism. For many, it was too unsettling to process, and it faced censorship in multiple countries. However, in retrospect, Freaks has earned its place as a groundbreaking piece of cinema that challenges societal perceptions of beauty and normality. The characters are not the monstrous beings they initially seem to be. Instead, it is the cruel Cleopatra and her exploitation of them that forms the true horror of the film. This subversion of expectations is part of what makes Freaks a compelling and haunting experience. While some might view the film as exploitative by today's standards, its bold narrative and its embrace of its oddball characters make it an early example of what would become the cult cinema movement. Freaks blends elements of horror, tragedy, and dark humor in a way that continues to resonate with modern audiences who appreciate films that operate outside the mainstream. Its influence on later films like The Elephant Man, 1980, and even modern horror films exploring the grotesque is undeniable. Despite its initial reception as a flop, Freaks has stood the test of time as a mind-bending work of art that redefined what cinema could be. Final verdict. For those willing to embrace its raw and uncomfortable themes, Freaks is a classic that has redefined the boundaries of horror and humanistic storytelling. It's a film that champions the outsider, casting a dark mirror on the superficial nature of society, and it still stands as a haunting reminder of the power of cinema to make us rethink the world around us. And there you have it, folks. These 10 films are the true definition of mind-bending, weird, and wildly unforgettable cinema. Whether you love them or hate them, they've carved out their own niche in the world of cult film, and that's what makes them so special. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the weirdest wonders of cult cinema, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Globewise entertainment family for more captivating content on the most bizarre, iconic, and unforgettable movies. We've got plenty of mind-blowing stories and Hollywood history coming your way. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep it weird, keep it wonderful, and stay Globewise.